Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Marvelous Monday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I wanted to remind you all of a special sale going on right now, and it made me think of my favorite tools. And I've been wanting to do a top 10 tool list for a while, so I thought this would be the perfect time because many of these things are at very deep discounts. So the deal is, the sale is that during SALE-a-bration, from now through the end of February, you can select $175 worth of fine quality paper crafting tools and supplies and pay only $99 and get free shipping. And that's huge. That's like a 75% increase on your investment. So a sale like this rarely comes along, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of it because I don't want you to miss it in case there's anything that you might like to add to your tool supplies, your papers, your adhesives. And if you're just starting out, this is the perfect way to do it because you're going to save a lot of money on the essential things that you'll need. So I will have information about this linked below after I finish the live video today. You can also go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and get that information right now. So today I've made a list of my top 10 tools. Now I am kind of a tool hound. I love really good tools because I think that they make your crafting or your painting, your creating that much better. You're going to get a better result with better tools. And one of the reasons why I like the Stampin' Up! Tools so much is the quality. They're really very good. And some of the tools on my list are not available through Stampin' Up!, but they are things that I consider essential, but a lot of them are. And for the ones that are, they are all eligible to get at this tremendous sale price. So the first tool, I'm going to try to go through them relatively quickly because I also want to show you a demonstration of how I use some of them after I go through them. So the first one is the trimmer. And the Stampin' Up! Trimmer is particularly nice for a number of reasons. It has an arm that swings out, which means that you can accommodate paper up to 17 inches long. Now let me just double check my settings. I want to make sure that I'm live. And yes, that looks good. I see Kelly and Carol. Good morning, good afternoon. The other thing that I like about this Stampin' Up! Trimmer is that it's got a kind of a break here. And I know that's not the right term. I can't think of the right term. But what I'm talking about is that when you put your paper in, it goes up against that bank or that break and it stops it right there. And this side one is exactly at 6 inches, so you know that every time you put your paper in, it's always going to be at the 6-inch mark, and you know that when you make your cuts, they're always going to be perfect right angle cuts. The blade is perfectly perpendicular to the orientation of the paper. So this is a 8.5 by 11 standard size sheet of paper. If I were to put this paper in at, actually, let me do it this way first. I'm going to score it first, and I want it to have a horizontal orientation or a book fold. So I'm going to put the paper at the 4 1/4 mark. On this arm, you have two blades. You've got a cutting blade and you've got a scoring blade. The scoring blade is really a wheel. And I'm going to take the scoring blade and I'm just going to run that along the length of the paper, and that's going to give me this really crisp fold. I'll show you that in just a second. First, I'm going to put it at 5.5, and I'm just going to run my cutting blade, and that's going to give me 2 identical pieces of paper with this really nice score that's going to give me a nice clean fold. The other thing that I like about the trimmer is that it also has centimeters along the top. There's, excuse me, also along the side here. And on the track here, you have inches. It comes with an accessory, which I have, that enables you to put centimeters on here as well. And there are times when you're measuring something and you're getting this really funny kind of, you know, odd fraction of an inch, and the centimeters make it so much easier to deal with, particularly if you're looking to find the center and divide it equally. So I find that extremely helpful. So that's the trimmer. Love the trimmer. Consider it an absolutely essential tool. I also recommend a bone folder. So if you are doing any kind of paper crafting or bookmaking, I love to make journals. Even, you know, for my watercolor paintings, I can use the bone folder to fold the paper so I can tear it down to size. And what the bone folder is going to do is it's going to enable you to make a nice crisp fold, just like so, without rubbing your fingers on the paper, because your fingers have oils in them. So when you use a bone folder, it's going to allow you to establish that beautiful fold without getting oils onto your paper. I recommend a pair of snips. So these snips are little scissors, and they're very sharp, and they're just the right size for getting in and around all those tight little places when you're fussy cutting something out. Now my snips have a little dangle on them. This is something that I give to my team when they promote to Bronze Elite, and then for every promotion afterwards they get another charm. So that's the Dandelion Cottage design team dangle. It's got a little charm on here that says she believed she could, so she did, and then it has a picture of or an engraving of a dandelion, and it also has a little, where is it? There it is, a little dandelion seed. So I don't know if you could see that, but I think of the dandelion seeds as little seeds of creativity that go out across through the air and inspire people to do beautiful things. So that's my charm. Those are my snips. So snips and bone folder. I also want to mention another kind of bone folder. This is what's called a Teflon bone folder, and this is particularly useful when doing bookmaking. And what's nice about the Teflon bone folder is that there are certain papers that have a kind of a surface or a nap that that can leave, if you rub them with a very hard tool, it can leave a mark on the nap. You know, if you think of suede, and when you rub your fingers across the surface of suede, the Teflon bone folder helps to alleviate that. It also doesn't get glue all stuck all over it. I'm going to be doing another top 10 adhesive show in the near future, and I'll talk a little more about different types of glues and removers and so forth and so on, but that's another story. So let's see what else is on the list here. The piercing tool and mat. So this is the piercing tool that used to be available through Stampin' Up. They're no longer available, but I love this tool because it has exactly the right diameter of piercingness that I like for bookmaking. There are other tools that are finer and larger, but this is the one that I like the best. And this is my piercing mat. So this is covered up. Let me show you what the piercing mat looks like. I'm going to remove this scrap paper. So here's the piercing mat. And basically this is a very hard foam mat that is perfect for piercing. You can see it's well used, and I've had this for a really long time. These hold up beautifully well. And they are also perfect for stamping on. So if you're using a photopolymer stamp, which is the stamp that is see-through or clear, you need that little bit of extra padding sometimes to get a good impression. And this piercing mat is perfect for that. So it's double duty. Okay, for this next tool, I'm going to have to clear a little bit of space here. My next favorite tool is the stamp and emboss machine. And basically, this is a machine that looks kind of like a toaster with a handle on it. So there's the handle. It's sort of toaster shaped. It's a heavy machine, and what it is it's a press. So just like a printing press, it has a bed that rolls through it. This one actually has these wings that tuck up to make it easier to store. It's got this really nice handle so that you can carry it easily. And the way you use it is you put down the bed and your cutting plates if you're using it to cut something. I'm going to demonstrate this in a little while, but it allows you to cut out some beautiful fine details like leaves and shapes and filigree, but also it allows you to use thinlits to cut out squares and circles and triangles with all sorts of decorative edges and details. But that's not all it does. It also comes with some alternate plates. It all comes together in one set. And with those alternate plates, you can also use it with embossing folders so that you can create wonderful textures on your papers and your cardstock. And more on that in another video. So that's the Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. The other thing that I find essential are my rulers. So I love and I like to use metal rulers because you can use them to cut along the edge with a sharp X-Acto knife or a utility knife. So this little one is a 6-inch ruler. This is the one that I use most often. But right next to me, I also have, oh, and I forgot something. I see there's something else I forgot to mention. But right next to me, I also have a long ruler because sometimes you need to have a much longer ruler. So this is a 15-inch ruler. Both of these rulers also have the metric centimeters and millimeters. And I have what's called a tear ruler. So as you can see, this is a ruler that has a very rough edge. So it has a very rough edge here and a much finer edge here. You also have your straight edge through this central channel, so it makes it very user-friendly. And this is used to tear paper, so I can use this to tear out paper and have a beautiful deckled edge, or I could have a very rough edge. So these are my 3 favorite rulers, and I have a lot of rulers. I mean lots, all kinds of rulers, all different shapes and sizes and materials, but these are the ones that I would consider essential. Now let me just go back a second because there's something over here I forgot to mention earlier, and that is in addition to my snips, which are the little handy scissors, I also have these extra long scissors. And these are great for when you're cutting a piece of paper that's really long and you want to do it with one smooth motion rather than a lot of little snips. So I just wanted to point that out quickly. The next thing on my list is punches. So I like all kinds of punches. So I have a complete collection of circle punches. I have this old whale tail punch. You can see the whale tail here that features this very cool folding tab, which I use quite frequently. I also have a collection of handheld punches, and these are little circle punches, but they are all different sizes. So I've got a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 of an inch, and I even have a 1/16 of an inch. So these are sort of the everyday kind of punches, but I also have a complete collection of punch shapes. So for instance, here's one. This is called the rectangular the rectangular postage stamp punch. And it looks like this. And I'm going to be using this one in a little while. But there are all sorts of shapes that are available, so you would just pick whatever ones you like best. And there are a lot of labels and other things, ticket punches, that are very handy to have. So I love all things punching. Then on the list, I have my book needle. Now, if you've been following for a while, you know I love to make art journals, okay? And I will frequently use this book needle. This is basically a tapestry needle, so it's a blunt. It has a blunt point on it. It has an oversized eye so that it easily accommodates my linen thread, which is available through my online store, and I just love this thread. I use this thread all the time. And linen, the reason we use linen thread in bookmaking is because it's so strong. So linen thread and linen cloth have been used in bookmaking for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So I love my needle, and I keep my needle and my linen thread in this little box that I made, and I have this right in front of me, so it's always to hand whenever I want to use that. Okay, so then the other tool I want to mention, see, I keep my tools in a little cup like this right next to my work area. My other tool I want to mention is a ball burnisher or a scoring tool. So this particular one came with the Simply Scored scoring tool. So this is just a board. It has a little storage compartment on the top. It has your inches, and I believe this one does not have the millimeters. I thought there was at some time in the past. I think there was an added piece, but this one features inches going both ways, and it has this little holder at the bottom for the bowl burnisher tool. But I end up using this tool so frequently that I just keep it in my cup. I don't use the Simply Scored as much because I like to score on my trimmer because it's a little bit smaller and easier for me to grab. It's closer to me. And finally, the last thing I want to mention are tweezers. So I've got 2 pair of tweezers, and one of them is available online, and this is what we call a reverse tweezer, so that when you squeeze it, it opens instead of when you squeeze it, it closes like your, standard household tweezers. And it's got this great little crook so that you can see what you're doing, so that you can pick something fine up. Like, let me find something little. I don't have anything little in front of me. Here we go. Here's my card. Okay, so you can pick something up very easily, and if it's a tiny thing, here's a tiny thing, or a tinier thing. So something like this, you want to pick it up and you want to glue it and then place it. It just makes it so much easier and so much more accurate. These tweezers are relatively new, and I love these tweezers. These feature a ceramic tip. So these white tips are actually made of a ceramic material, and what these are designed, and these are also feature the reverse action, which is very handy when you're crafting. What these enable you to do is to hold something small like this and do your heat embossing, so that when you are using your heat tool, it's not going to burn your fingers. Okay, it's gonna keep the thing that you're heat embossing away from your hand, and you can get a really tiny little thing underneath the nozzle of that heat tool. Heat tool would be one of my favorite tools. It's not on today's list, but we can call the heat tool number 11. Let's just do a little bonus tool since I have it right next to me. This is the heat tool, and it's got a little stand so that it keeps the hot tip off your surface when it's cooling off. It's got a high and a low setting on the, it's not plugged in right now because I'm not using it today, but it's got a high and a low setting and an off switch. And this is a really nice, sleek, handy tool. And what I do is I have it hanging on this hook. So I just hang it off that hook, and then I just hook it next to me so it's easy to grab. So that completes my top 10 lists of tools, and what I want to do next is to just show you how I use a lot of these tools. So I'm not going to use every single one, but I'm going to use a lot of them. So starting again with my trimmer, and I've already cut out my card base, so that's ready to go. I showed that to you a couple of minutes ago. I'm also going to use some Mossy Meadow cardstock. This is one of my most favorite greens. I love this. I love green, and this is one of my favorite greens. So I'm just going to cut this down to size. I'm going to need a little bit smaller piece of this. So I'm just going to cut this down to a 1/4 size. And then I'm also going to be featuring today this stamp set, Dainty Delight, and this is one of the brand new stamp sets that's in the new mini catalog. It comes as a bundle with these dies. These are called Dainty Delight as well. There are 16 dies, and there are 9 stamps, and they look like this. Very pretty. So it's these little sprigs of wildflowers with these really nice sentiments. And the dies not only cut out these sprigs of flowers, sorry, coffee time. I hope you all brought coffee. I'm trying to talk fast today so that it's not as long as the last video I did, which really went over time. But it also has these beautiful stand-alone dies. So here is this beautiful leafy sort of border that could be used in an oval shaped design. Here is something that looks like Queen Anne's lace to me. Alright, so I think we'll use that and that today. There are also some other little flowers and things which are also standalone. So here's a daisy kind of a flower and a stem. You have what looks like flower centers here, some clusters, and then these finlets correspond to the various designs that come in the stamp set. So we're going to be using Dainty Delight. I'm also going to be using the deckled rectangle dies, which I love. I consider these a staple in my toolbox, so I'm going to be using a couple of these today. What's nice about these is that you can see that they have incremental sizes. that means that you can nest things perfectly proportionately to one another. And I'll demonstrate that in just a second. But before I do, I wanted to show you the Designer Series paper that coordinates with the Dainty Delight bundle, because I'm going to be using this today. So here's the paper. This is called Dainty Flowers. It's 12 by 12 Designer Series paper, and the colors that it coordinates with are Blushing Bride, Crushed Curry, Fresh Freesia, Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, Rich Raspberry, and Starry Sky. These are some of my favorite colors. It's a really beautiful palette of colors. The paper is acid-free. It's perfect for paper crafting. You can fold and burnish it, and it will not create a burr or a rough edge. It's extremely useful for making 3D projects and any kind of paper crafting project. The paper is double-sided, so in this pack of 12 sheets of paper, you're going to get 24 different designs. Am I saying that right? Is it 12 sheets? I just want to make sure. Yeah, 12. So 24 different designs. And this paper is actually free. This is a product that you get to select for free with an order of $50. So every time during SALE-a-bration, which ends on the 28th of February, you're going to be able to select a different free product from the SALE-a-bration brochure. And you can see that online on the online store, and you will be prompted to add to your order when you place your order. So today I'm going to be using this one. I'm feeling like doing something very green today, and I love this design. It's on the back of this one. I'm going to be using that. And because this paper is 12 by 12, and I'm just going to be using a little bit of it on the front of my card, I'm going to use my trimmer to cut it down. And I'm just going to start with a 4-inch cut, just like that. And then I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4. Okay, so that's going to give me a little piece that I think will be perfect for what I want to do. So this is what I have so far. I've got my card base, I've got my mat, and I've got my Designer Series paper. All right, so that's the beginning. Now there's a couple of other things I need to do. So for instance, I want to use this beautiful leafy border die on my Mossy Meadow, and I think what I want to do is use this little sort of Queen Anne's lace sort of flower on my card with some basic white. So let me see if I have a scrap that's big enough. Oh, that'll just make it. So you see, this is what I keep all my scraps inside my job folders with my full-size sheets, and that way when I'm looking for a color, I have it all together. We can talk about storage systems in another video, but right now I'm just going to tear this down, and I probably want a couple of those. Okay, so I'm going to get my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine back out again. I'm going to roll out the bed, and then I'm going to place my Mossy Meadow cardstock with the die shape on the top, and I'm just going to roll that through. And because this is a little bit detailed, I'm just going to send it through a second time to make sure that I get all the little pieces. So there it is. Look how beautiful that is. See the little detail in the leaves? I'll give you a close-up later. So just get these little bits off. This, of course, can be, I could use this. So if you place your die cuts nicely, you can use them as a reverse, which is a fun technique. And next I'm going to grab my Queen Anne's lace on my little piece of scrap paper. Send that through. And look at how pretty that is. So delicate. Can you imagine trying to fussy cut all these shapes out with just your little scissors? And it would take forever. Actually, you know what? I think I can squeeze in another one just like that. So I'll send that one through. Now this is a great use of your piercing tool. There are some little holes on the back of the die that help you to poke the paper out, and then you can just gently peel it like so. And I think I'm going to go for one more of these. I'm not sure if I need 3, but I'd rather be looking at it than looking for it, as my friend Beanie says. So there we go. Okay, so those are my flower shapes, my flowers and leaves. Give that a little poke. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop my dies back onto my magnetic sheet so I don't lose them. I store my dies on these magnetic sheets. I put the name of the dies, and I also put how many are there, so that before I put this away, I'll be sure to count to make sure I didn't accidentally drop one of them. Alright, so next what I'd like to do is to use my deckled rectangles. So I'm going to grab my Mossy Meadow card stock, and I'm going to use the biggest one of the framelits on this. So just get that kind of, now if you're careful and you center that on there nicely, you can also use the negative shape in a different project. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay, so that gives me this frame shape with the deckled interior, and I also have this beautifully deckled mat. I'm going to grab my second larger shape, and actually, let me see. I'm going to take a quick look and see how much of a border I want here. Yeah, I'm going to go with the second largest. And this time I'm going to take that piece of DSP that I cut out, and I'm going to use the deckled edge on that. All right, and so that is my, I think that's all the die cutting I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put this away for now. There we go. So this is what we have so far. Got my pretty little flowers. Okay, this is, as I mentioned, this stamp and die set is called Dainty Delight, and it really has a beautiful, very fine quality. Now I want to do a little bit of stamping, and for that, I'm going to go back to my basic white. So I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper, and I love this sentiment. It says, sending love during this season of growth. And I'm a master gardener here in Connecticut. I love all things gardening, so this really speaks to me. So I'm going to use that sentiment. Where is it? It's right here. And I'm going to pop it on one of my blocks. So let's see, what size do I want? It's too big. That's perfect. So I'm just going to, I have some lines on my surface here. I'm just going to use that line to square up my block and pop my sentiment on. It may not be perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to try to get it close. And I've got my Mossy Meadow ink. Just going to tap that gently, not hard, just gently. And now the rubber stamps have some cushioning built into them. So there's, like, you can see that little foam cushion. Remember earlier I said that with the photopolymer stamps, the see-through ones, they don't have that, and that pad comes in really handy for giving that extra cushion so that you get a nice crisp impression. With these, it's not as important. You can use the piercing mat, and it won't hurt. It may help, but it's not as necessary. So there's my sentiment. It came out beautifully. And put my ink away before we have an incident. And then I'm going to grab my rectangular postage stamp punch. Now I need to cut this out a little bit because, actually I think I'm going to use my trimmer so I have a nice straight edge, so it may come in handy later. So let me just trim this down, cut that off, and that should fit, fingers crossed. So I can just, this is why the punches are so great to have, because they're just quick and easy. So I can just get that exactly where I like it, get it centered in there. Okay. So there's my sentiment upside down. Let's turn it around. Here we go. Okay, so that's my sentiment. Now the next thing is to add a little glue. Before I do, I thought it'd be fun to put a little bow on my sentiment. So what I'm going to do, and I'll zoom you in so that you can see better because this is kind of tiny work, is I'm just going to pierce two holes in the corner here. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, and then I can take my thread, this is my linen thread, and can just stitch through here. I'm going to go around 3 times. And I'm keeping a longish tail at the top. So that's 1. 2. 3. I'm just going to trim that. I'm going to tie a little knot. Just a simple knot. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a tiny bow. And because the linen thread is so fine, it's actually not that hard to do. Just get that adjusted to where I want it. Alright, so there's my little embellishment on my tag. And I'm going to start assembling. So I'm going to go ahead and put down my designer series paper onto my Mossy Meadow mat. I'm using the liquid multi-purpose glue, which is my favorite glue. It's a neutral pH glue, and it dries quickly, but not so quickly that you don't have just a little bit of wiggle room just to get your layers exactly where you want them. So that looks pretty good. Again, I can come in with my bone folder, give that a nice burnish. This is going to help to distribute the glue so it's nice and even, and it's going to ensure a good adhesion. So I love that. I love this paper. So pretty. Okay, so I may as well go ahead and mount that right now. Oh, we're a little too close. Let me zoom you out a bit so you can see better. Sorry. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted. I want to make sure that my design is right side up and that my card opens the way I want it to, and get that placed. Again, I have that minute of wiggle room to make any final adjustment. There it is. So I think you can see how with the right tools you can make a very beautifully made card with beautiful folded edges, beautiful cuts, very professional result without a lot of effort. Now I'm going to take I'm going to grab my silicone craft sheet. This is going to be in the adhesive top 10 list. But I'm just going to use this to protect my surface, and I can take my multi-purpose glue and I'm just going to dot that on the leaves. Just make my way down. This is a really pretty die, by the way. I can see this may end up being one of my favorites. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue on the end of that stem because I don't want that to lift up. Now here's where my tweezers come into play. So I can pick that up and I can place that exactly where I want it. Now I want some of these leaves to extend into the white areas of my card like so. Oops, okay. There we go. I'm just going to gently press those into place. Now I'm going to do just the same thing with my flowers. So I'm going to flip those over to the back side. Come on. This is where the tweezers help you to pick things up too. And again, just dot the backs of the flowers. You have a tremendous amount of control with this glue. Now, when I first started using it, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but after a while, you get very good at it. So now I'm just gonna gently place my flower like so. So there's one. Get my stem. Okay, now this one I want to be a little bit higher. Got a little bit of glue on my card, so I'm just going to grab a tissue and quickly wipe that away. The glue dries clear, so that's fine. And then finally, just figure out, okay, so I want this flower to be in this area. And that. Yeah, I had a feeling I was going to have to trim that, so I'm just going to trim that off a little bit. Get the glue off my surface. And then I'm going to add just a little tiny drop at the end here. Like so. All right, so there is my beautiful die cut design, and it looks so pretty, and that white looks so crisp against the green. Now finally, for my sentiment, I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals. So the dimensionals are these tiny little foam pieces that will raise your layers just a little bit, which can be very nice if you want to have a kind of a shadow effect, which I like. So I'm going to go peel away those backing strips and then get that situated. That right there. And that's my card. Okay, and I think that's really cute. So, so as you can see, all of these tools that I mentioned earlier, you can see they're all scattered across my surface here. So these things, plus the trimmer and the stamping cut and emboss machine, were all used in the making of this card. And I'll give you a better look. So there it is. So I hope that gives you some ideas, and I hope that you will take advantage of this fantastic offer that's going on right now, which is to get $175 worth of paper crafting tools, supplies, materials, all your choice. You select anything that you like, anything that you think you may need, and pay only $99 for it, plus tax, and get free shipping. So I will place a link that will take you right to where you need to go to get that starter kit containing that deal. And if you have any questions at all, please just reach out. You can send me a message, send me an email. I'll be happy to walk you through the process and to explain anything that is unclear to you. So thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll be back on Wednesday at 12 noon live Eastern Standard Time right here with Watercolor Wednesday. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do a monochromatic painting, and I'll be using the In the Country stamp set, which is available for free from the SALE-a-bration catalog, or brochure I guess you'd call it. So this is the brochure that I'm talking about, and the picture I'm going to be working from is in this stamp set called In the Country, so stay tuned for that. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.